Right, so we need an introduction. That's what I was getting at. It's worth you having a little scribble of this as well, just to see how it's done. So, Priestley, is that how we're introduced in it? Yeah?
Yes.
Is that how everybody in your year group's going to introduce it? How you're going to show off some flair? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go for something different.
Within Priestley's didactic morality.
Nice. Within. Yeah, what can we say after that? Within Priestley's didactic morality play, we can see, or we are shown. What are we shown? Link it to the question. Somebody throw me the question.
How does Priestley use the character of the inspector to highlight societal issues?
Okay, we are shown through the characterization. Get that terminology in there. Oh no, nice. Of the inspector how. What's the end of that question? Sorry, Alex.
To highlight.
Through the characterization of the inspector, how
To highlight societal issues.
he feels about societal issues emerging post-war, yeah? Okay, so that's a nice introduction there. You've set yourself up to link it. You can't really fail as long as you're going back to that introduction. So everything really needs to link back to that introduction. So all your points, the questions in there, so you essentially can't go wrong, she says. So how am I going to start? So what we've got on that board there, and all of the components, all of those points, what am I going to start with on that board? Where did we start?
Voice of socialism.
Okay, so we've kind of said that, and now we'll say the inspector is a representation of Priestley's voice, a mouthpiece. He highlights ideas. Ideas? Are they ideas of socialism? How can we rephrase that? What does he highlight? He highlights, James? Connotations. Don't know whether that works quite with that, what I'm trying to say, but good, go.
Views.
Views, nice. Views on socialism by, what does he do? Let's talk through it. The inspector is a representation of Priestley's voice, a mouthpiece. He highlights views on socialism in the way he conducts himself around the Burlings. Does that work? Okay. So, how does he conduct himself around the Burlings? Are we taking something from there? Is that?
Like class and teach university.
Yeah, good. His character can be seen to inspect each character within on the 3 acts. Let me make it. Okay, so let's get a quotation in there. Can we put a quotation, or is it too soon? Not too soon, we need one in there, because we've just rambled on a little bit. We need a quotation in there now. What can we say? So, he can be seen to inspect each character within the 3 acts that make up the play, because that's what's going to teach him a lesson, but I think I'll wait to put that bit in my explanation. What can we say in terms of a decent quotation? What's one of the quotations that really inspects one of the characters? What's a quotation that does that? Think about maybe when he's talking to Gerald, when he's talking to Mr. Burling. You might know it off by heart.
Should I go get the book?
Zach?
Was it one about like none of them being innocent?
Huh?
Almost like, I don't know it exactly, but sort of like about them, none of them being innocent.
Okay.
I don't know exactly.
Okay. You all played a part? Yeah?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
You each played a part. You'd get away with not the exact quotation, okay? So you would, to a certain extent, get away with that, as long as it was the main kind of idea. So, when the inspector discusses their role in Eva's death, he states that they each played a role. This accusatory suggestion. Sorry, is it a suggestion? Each played a role. I keep restart it. This accusatory statement. I keep going to say statement, so I'm sticking with it. Reinforces that individually the characters impacted her suicide. Okay, so the fact that each of them played a role, let's have a look at the idea of this played and a role. Okay, so there's 2 words in there that I'm drawn to immediately. So think about this idea of playing a role. So if you play a role in something, what does that mean, Bradley?
That you're involved in it.
Yeah, okay. So this idea, so this accusatory statement reinforces that individually the characters impacted her suicide. They played a part separately in how she died. What Priestley's purpose, and talk about Priestley's purpose here. Purpose for doing this was to exaggerate and emphasise the need for capitalist individuals to not only accept responsibility but to change how they treat others within society. Yeah? So although it takes a little while to get there, you're just trying to link to the purpose. And that's really the trick here, is understanding what Priestley's purpose or message was. Okay? Now what I can do is link to the quotes we've got on the board, because we need more quotations, don't we? So, at the beginning of the play, Priestley Burling. We'll go with Burling first, sorry folks. Burling states that people shouldn't behave like bees in a hive working together, okay? That's one. Which is the exact exact opposite of those thoughts brought in by the inspector. Perhaps this can also be seen be why Priestley changes the lighting when the inspector walks in. When the inspector walks in, what's the light change to? That's how it was before. Pink and intimate before. When the inspector walks in, bright and harsh, yeah? To bright and harsh. Okay. So why does he change the lighting, and how can we link that to this whole idea of bees in a hive? So we've got this idea. Let's have a little read through. So, just that paragraph. The inspector is a representation of Priestley's voice and mouthpiece. He highlights views on socialism in the way he conducts himself around the Burlings. His character can be seen to inspect each character within the three acts that make up the play. When the inspector discusses their role in Eva's death, he states that they each played a role. This accusatory statement reinforces that individually the characters impacted her suicide. They played a part separately in how she died. What Priestley's purpose for doing this was to exaggerate and emphasise the need for capitalist individuals to not only accept responsibility, but to change how they treat others within society. At the beginning of the play, Burling states that people shouldn't behave like bees in a hive, working together as one, which is the exact opposite of those thoughts brought in by the inspector. Perhaps this can also be seen Perhaps this can also be why Priestley changes the lighting when the inspector walks in to bright and harsh. Why does he change that? What's that moment? Go on, Jane.
So it's like before the inspector, Mr. Burlington's opinion was sort of accepted by the whole family, but now since the inspector's here, he's kind of like cold down.
Yeah, nice. Okay. So these descriptions or directions, because we need to put that, don't we, because it's a play. These directions have connotations, there you go, you've got your word there, of cold, a cold environment. That no one wants to be in. Okay, so it's this environment that no one will want to be in, and that's the suggestion that this family have had. Remember with the pink and intimos, they've had these rose-tinted glasses on, which means that they've been blinkered by their own, or all consumed by their own worlds, and actually the reality comes in when the inspector comes in and they're exposed to the truth. All right? These paragraphs will be longer and longer and longer the more ideas you get. Don't worry about that. Don't think about Key Stage 3 anymore. We've got to go with, and very much, kind of high ability students need to be producing longer paragraphs. Yeah, it's not 5 lines and you move on anymore. It's how can I fill a couple of pages with some decent good stuff. Okay, so this idea of a cold environment that no one wants to be in. I think that we can say that, can't we? Certainly with what is it about the furniture as well in those stage directions at the beginning that we can say that it's not comfortable being there. The Burlings' home is decorated with hard furnishings too, which can be outlined in the opening stage directions. This again suggests an uncomfortable environment and one that the inspector tries to make further by inspecting them. Okay, I'm going to go back to my first quote there in this part, and that's the bees in the hive, because I want to talk now about the idea that socialism coming out of post-war, because then I'm getting context in there. So I'm still not finished. I'm still one paragraph, still not finished. You've got to get into the routine of saying a lot about a little. And it's okay for me sitting up here. You've got to really learn from these essays, yeah? And watch how they're structured. Think about that. And I know it looks a bit like I'm just banging in lots and lots of ideas there, but I'm going to come back to them all. There is going to be some sort of conclusion. Has everyone managed to write that down?
No,
Okay. Let me start on the next one. I'll leave that there. I'll just start on another piece of paper. Right, we're all nearly finished. Nearly there. Where are you, Reese?
On our side.
Okay. Riley. Sorry.
It's there at the bottom, like waiting for them.
Inspecting further. Okay, so to go on from there, the harsh environment created by Priestley is purposeful because he wants to show the audience that if we do not work as bees in a hive, then we will end up in a harsh reality of blood, fire and anguish, which is exactly what happened after the play was set in 1912. Okay? As a representation, I'm going back to that word, of the birdling's conscience, the inspector is there to ensure that they treat people. What's a better word for better? Equally. Nice. Who said that? Yeah. You didn't say it. And this is how society will improve. Okay? Alright, so that is one point, really. The next thing I might go into doing is then talking about the fact that it's a morality play, and go into getting some evidence about the moral of the story and thinking about how they go about that, and also maybe bringing Eric to that, because actually there's a moral to be learnt from Eric's stance, and maybe bringing age and how Sheila and Eric represent ideas of age and the next generation. And if we get that right, we're okay. Okay. Right. Well done, you guys. Don't move yet.